The Black Book. It was a stormy evening when Mohammed first set foot inside the abandoned library. The air smelled of mildew, and dust particles danced in the dim light that filtered through cracked windows. He had stumbled upon the place after hearing rumors about it from locals in a nearby village. Some called it a haunted library, while others spoke of a book that had cursed every soul who dared to read it. Mohammed, always intrigued by the paranormal, couldn't resist. Little did he know that decision would change his life forever. The library was vast, with towering shelves that seemed to reach up to the ceiling. Ancient books, their spines cracked and faded, filled the rows of shelves. The place had an eerie atmosphere, as if the books themselves whispered secrets from centuries past. As Mohammed walked deeper into the library, he felt a cold chill creeping up his spine. Then he saw it. The book. It was positioned on a pedestal in the center of the room, bathed in a shaft of pale moonlight that seemed to shine just for it. It was an old, leather-bound book with no title on the cover. The color of its pages was a dark, almost black shade, unlike anything he had ever seen. A chill ran through him as he approached, his hands trembling. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the cool surface of the book. For a moment, he hesitated. Something about the book felt wrong, as if it was alive, waiting for him to open it. But curiosity got the better of him. With a slow, deliberate motion, he opened the book to its first page. The text was written in a strange, ancient language. But to his surprise, the words began to shift and change in front of his eyes, becoming readable in his native tongue. It was as though the book was responding to him, adapting to his understanding. He read aloud, his voice echoing in the silence of the library. To those who read these words, know that your fate is sealed. Once you open the pages, you will become part of this story, and there is no escape. The shadows will follow you, the spirits will haunt you, your life will no longer be your own. A sudden, oppressive silence filled the room. Mohammed's heart pounded in his chest. His eyes scanned the page, but before he could comprehend what he had just read, the temperature in the room dropped. His breath turned to mist as the shadows around him began to shift. The air thickened, and he felt a pressure building on his chest, as if the very walls of the library were closing in. He slammed the book shut, his hands shaking violently. The shadows receded, but the feeling of dread lingered. Mohammed quickly backed away from the pedestal, but as he turned to leave, the door slammed shut behind him. He was trapped. The lights flickered, and the room seemed to darken even further. Mohammed's pulse raced as he desperately searched for a way out. It was then that he heard a voice, faint at first, but growing louder. It was a whisper, soft and sinister. "Ah, you should now, have opened the book, Mohammed." The voice was not human, and it sent a shiver down his spine. He spun around, but the room was empty. There was no one there. His breath quickened, and he ran to the door, trying to force it open, but it wouldn't budge. Panicking, Mohammed turned back to the book. The words had changed again. The pages now seemed to be filled with descriptions of his own life. His name, his age, his family, his pastor. All of it was there, and the next page had something even more terrifying. A description of his death. It spoke of a figure in the dark, a shadow that would chase him, and how he would meet his end at the hands of something evil. Suddenly, the temperature dropped even further, and the shadows in the corners of the room seemed to take shape. Dark, looming figures appeared, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. They moved slowly toward him, their bodies melting into the shadows, their presence suffocating. Mohammed's blood ran cold as he realized the figures in the book were now coming to life. One of the figures stepped forward, a tall, gaunt figure dressed in tattered robes, its face obscured by a dark hood. It reached out toward him, its fingers long and skeletal. Mohammed tried to scream, but no sound came out. His legs felt like lead as he stumbled backward, tripping over his own feet. The figure spoke in a voice that echoed in his mind. "You are part of the story now, Mohammed. There is no escape. The book has chosen you." In a frantic attempt to break free from the nightmare, Mohammed lunged for the window, hoping to escape through it. But before he could reach it, another shadow lunged at him, grabbing him by the wrist. It felt cold and clammy, as though the shadow itself had wrapped around him. With a surge of desperation, Mohammed managed to break free. He ran toward the door again, but it still wouldn't open. His vision blurred as the shadows closed in on him, their whispers growing louder.